Hello! Time for the start of another weekly reading vlog, and today, guys, I have been reading The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. I'm already this far. So I've been buddy reading this with a bunch of people, from Katie, from Brightness Katie, I think's her channel name. I will have it down below. From Justine from I Should Read That, and from Ava from Books Ava After. We're all reading it together. And it's super fun because this book is complicated. It's a lot of complicated world building, but it's fun because then you can talk to your friends about how you think things are working out. And then there's also like we're all forming all of these conspiracy theories because there's this big bad in the shadows. Not big bad, but there's this thing that's causing mayhem, and we don't know if it's corruption from the church or from the government, and we're just all shooting out ideas everywhere, and it is super fun. And yeah, also it's just standard wonderful world building by N.K. Jemisin. I was worried that I wouldn't like this one that much because everyone's all like, it's not her best. I mean, I like this at least as much as the Inheritance trilogy, so I love it so much. Anyways, so yeah, having a great time with this. But then also, I decided to, while I was buddy reading, I got to the section we were supposed to get to, so I was like, okay, I should read something else tonight. So I started reading Redemption in Indigo. This is by Karen Lord. I was recommended this book by Djeli from Onyx Pages because we both really liked This Is How You Lose the Time War, and that was a recommendation. Although, because of that, I thought it was going to be more abstract and atmospheric writing style like that. But no, Karen Lord's hysterical in her writing style. I have not read something that makes me laugh so much in a while. And it's so good. Like, how do I describe this? So, if you've read Terry Pratchett, that's probably the other fantasy satire you've read. So it's kind of like that, but with a much better writing style, in my opinion. Me and Terry Pratchett's writing style, it can come to odds. I have to get very reintegrated into his writing for me to understand it. With this, it was smooth and easy. It was both beautiful and self-aware and funny. The fourth wall is broken all the time. It's based off, I think, a Caribbean myth and creatures from there, so that's super cool to me because I never read that. It's so fun. I'm having such a good time. I don't know if it's just stress or what, but I found a beautiful version of this cover. I think it's the one I'll try and use on the screen. And I bought it. So I'll have that eventually. It's just so I cannot tell you how instantly I fell in love with this writing style. Like, I was like, where have you been? Also, Karen Lord is like so smart. Like, she taught physics, she's got PhD. She is so cool. So yeah, really enjoying that. Still listening to Radium Girls. Should finish that soon, and then I don't know what I'll do next with audiobooks. I'll make it up as I go, but that's how I'm starting this week. I am working on The Killing Moon, Redemption in Indigo, The Radium Girls, and I'm gonna be real, reading one of my favorite authors and then discovering potentially a new favorite author in the same week is almost too much for me to handle so far. Almost. So I have finished things. Hey, behave. He's very annoyed. He wants like a snack or something, but it's like 4 p.m., so that's like not a thing right now. Oh my goodness. But I have finished The Radium Girls, and I really, really liked the ending. I think the ending was really necessary and really interesting to me because it really emphasized why the Radium Girls and how much they fought to get their cases heard, to have it recognized that what they were suffering from was not female hysteria, that it was a real disease. I mean, it should have been very obvious. You cannot fake like a jaw not being in your mouth anymore. But the ending was really good. But then the postscript. The postscript. I want to mention it because I don't think nonfictions can have spoilers in the sense that it's a nonfiction. But if you do care, I will put a timestamp here because I feel like I really want to talk about this postscript because it made me angry again. So here I am going to talk about the postscript. So we've read this whole story about these women in the teens and the 20s in 2 different states having to go through being abused by their employers for the sake of their profits and getting radium poisoning, which I cannot think of many things that are A, more preventable, and B, more awful. And then they finally get their cases heard. It's widely accepted that this is a bad decision. And then we read the postscript, and I was listening to it, and it's like, I feel like I've read this chapter before. Is this like a bloopers or something? Like, this sounds so familiar. Why am I basically getting reiterated to me what we read in the first part? And then she's like, this is 1978. 1978. Women were still being exposed to radium. And like, yes, they weren't lip pointing anymore, which is how they were getting poisoned, as they put the brush in their mouth to paint the clocks. But no, I was so mad. And then of course the company's like bankrupt, so they can't pay the fees, because not only was it bad for the women, but because they had to use so much more radium to accomplish the same task, it spread all around the environment of that city. Anyways, I think this was a really fascinating read. I don't typically rate nonfictions on enjoyment, but I will say that if you are looking for a nonfiction about American labor and like medical history, you should read this. And another note I thought of, because of the murder of George Floyd, I was thinking a lot about race and inequality while I was reading the tail end of this book. And, a part of me was very, what's it called? I don't know the word for it, but I was pretty sure that the only reason this case got any traction, that any of this worked, is because these women were white. I can't imagine what would have happened if, instead of having this high wage job, which meant since it's high wage, it was only going to go to white women, because if you're new here, this is America. But if it hadn't been white women, media was a huge thing for how they got this to work. And gosh, it's the teens and the 20s. If we were abusing black women or other immigrants in this same way, which, they probably were, and we just don't have that in our history brought to the forefront yet, like, we wouldn't have known so much important things. We wouldn't have known how bad internal radiation damage is, which was very important for the Manhattan Project. It was very important for atomic bomb testing. It was so much more important than labor rights, but it was also really important for labor rights. Like, so many things matter because these women were able to fight for their rights. And like, I went down a path of alternate history in a very jaded way, because that's where my brain was. So that was just something that came up in my head. But moving on from that, I have finished The Killing Moon. So what to say about The Killing Moon? So it seems like this duology is going to be similar to the Inheritance trilogy in that each installment is a more separate story in the same world, which I'm totally cool with. It's also, I think, for me, the least... for me, the characters don't connect to me as much as her other characters in her other works. And I think part of that is this is an earlier work, and she spent so much time in the world building, and I love the world building so much. And there's this interview in the back of this book that's just hysterical. Like, she is interviewing herself and like, she's so funny. Like, I love when Jemisin uses her humor on Twitter or in her interviews or in her actual books. I love it. But like, there was the one line that had me laugh is everybody in these books African? And her response to herself is, no, it's not Earth. There's no Africa. Which I just love. But then also it kind of devolves into basically N.K. Jemisin has not written in medieval European setting, which if you're new to fantasy, which you're probably not if you're here, is a standard fantasy setting. But then she goes in all caps, why do you hate medieval Europe? And it's just, I just love it. It's so funny. I love her as an author so much. So if you like N.K. Jemisin's world building, and if you're not daunted by world building, like, that is not spoon-fed to you. This is great. Yeah, and it was perfect to buddy read. Like, I had such a good time buddy reading, because even if I was at a point that was slower, I was motivated to keep going. And this book particularly had a lot of moments that were like, oh man, is everyone caught up to chapter 26? We need to discuss. So, like, it's really good. And continue with the trend of really good. I'm still reading Redemption in Indigo, and I just love it. I love it so much. It's I was having this revelation while I was reading it this afternoon, and I was like, this is what I wanted Gods of Jade and Shadow to be. This integration of these new mythos to me with a really fun plot. And I have no idea where it's going, but the way that she writes and story tells is beautiful, and the characters are so good. And, like, there's this villain that I'm not sure right now. Is he a villain? I don't know. And I love that, like, at first I was like, yes, he is a villain. He doesn't like humanity, ergo, he's not on my side. And now he's interacting with the main character, and I'm unsure. So yeah, I'm hoping maybe to finish it this afternoon before socializing, but we will see. And I started, what's it called? I always get the title mixed up, but it's on my my Libby. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. That's my audiobook, because Adri from Perpetual Pages was listening to it at Quarantine Pages, and they were having a great time. And so I noticed it was available at my library, and only a 9-hour audiobook, and I take forever to listen to audiobooks, so this seemed ideal. And I've just, also a lot of my friends have really liked this story, and it's a story about statues that just show up, and it's from the perspective of the person who first discovers it and then blows up on social media. And I think it's less about where these statues came from, although that mystery is very much there, and more about social media and what happens when you're, like, obsessed with it. Regardless, the narrator for this audiobook is top notch, and I'm obsessed with this audiobook. Also, you can't see this cat, but he's like, he's really, really cute. So yeah, that's my audiobook. So really, just loving everything I'm reading right now. I think after I finish Redemption and Indigo, I need to read the Unspoken Name, because A, that's going to expire on my Kindle soon for library book stuff, and B, my friend has read part of it, and I don't know, I'm, like, apprehensive because he's not really loving it, and so I'm like, well, should we read it? And it's like, I don't know, you read it and you tell me. So it's like, I just don't have, like, strong feelings, but he got to pick the book this time, so I'm going to try and be a good friend, read the book. But it's just like, as I'm so excited about all these other books, I'm not excited to pick up a book that I'm scared I will feel very average about. We will see. Hopefully it surprises me. Who knows? Anything can happen. This was so long of a check-in, so I will talk to you guys when I have finished things. Alright, so we are at the end of the vlog, and I don't know what my hair is doing today, but I feel like it looks really different. But maybe it's not, I'm just insane. I know. Alright, so I finished Redemption in Indigo. I loved it. Yeah, I everything I've said up to this point is still true. I have to figure out my thoughts for it. Like, so, I don't know how many of you guys like musicals, but I really love the musical Once on This Island. And this musical is based off a book written by an author from Trinidad. And Redemption in Indigo is written by Dr. Karen Lord, who is from Barbados. Not saying that these islands have the same stories, they're obviously different cultures, but I could feel the storytelling elements that I liked from Once on This Island in this story, even up to the end. So the ending of Once on This Island has a song called We Tell the Story, and it explains why this story was told, because it was a village telling a child a story about something that once happened on that island during a storm to distract the child from the storm. And when, sorry, the cat's distracting me. And at the end of this story, they're like, so why did we tell this story? And she kind of wraps it up in kind of her fourth wall, sarcastic way. And then it ends with an epilogue that I really liked. I'm also really confused. Apparently epilogues are controversial here. I don't actually care one way or another. I just always go, oh, this is the actual last chapter, sort of thing. Just like with the prologue, I'm like, oh, the actual first chapter, sort of thing. I don't really have much stake in it. But man, it's a really good story, and I'm really glad I bought myself a copy because I'll want to reread it. This is like, I haven't read a lot of things that are fairy tale-esque in a while, and I guess I would maybe put this in that same category, especially in terms of a story that like plays off those tropes per se. Oh gosh. But yeah, I really liked it, and I can just see it being this nice cozy read for me that I'll just keep wanting to go back to, and it's not just like shallow either. It has a lot to say, and it's just such a good world too that like in 200 pages it was very well realized for me. So yeah, Redemption in Indigo is so good. If you have not heard of Dr. Karen Lord and her work in speculative fiction, do yourself a favor and pick this book up, because it is really good. And let's see, I did try to read The Unspoken Name and Unspoken Name. It's this book with the horn on it. And I've decided to DNF it. Not because it's bad, but because I am not interested in anything I read in the first couple chapters. I don't know, its world building doesn't intrigue me. It could be intriguing because it's technically the main character, I think, is an orc. But that's not, she's really treated no differently than a human with tusks, and same with the other main character, who I think is an elf. But again, there's no real character world building. There is kind of this whole prophecy thing, but it looks like it's a journey and quest story, which is also not my thing. And then the writing style is kind of mellow, and I'm going to link 2 reviews. One that's very positive for this book by someone who loves it, and I thought she did a really good job breaking down how you can tell if it won't be for you and like giving you reasonable expectations. And I'm going to do one from Dashana, who was like me and I think was more apprehensive towards it, but these people finished the book, and they can, if you're curious about it, because I know it's on a lot of people's potential anticipated releases of the year, figure it out. So that's what I'm going to do there, but I DNF'd it. I was not excited. I could feel myself being slumpy if I forced myself to read this like 470 page book that I was like not that invested in. The last book I read was a Dead Djinn in Cairo, I think is the name. You will see an image. This is a really short novella, and I liked it. It was fun. It was quick. It was about a mystery. Like you have a detective who's trying to solve why a djinn was murdered. And it's a really cool world, and I think it's a cool snippet of the world. Yeah, it was fun. It was just a fun time. I don't think it will have a lasting impact on me, but I am excited to read another novella in that same world once it comes in from my library by the same author. And I would definitely read a full-length novel by this author, because I really liked the world, and I don't know, I've been really into like Middle Eastern mythology in my fantasy lately, and that's very present here. So yeah. Oh, and I did, guys, it's crazy. I finished 2 audiobooks, right? First, earlier this week, I finished Radium Girls, which we already talked about ad nauseum. But then I finished the absolutely remarkable thing. I scheduled time in my day to finish that when I wasn't like doing errands or on a walk. I really needed the ending. It's so gripping and engaging, and I just really liked it. I loved the narrator. I loved the disaster that is April May, but also I don't think I mentioned this before. I really like Miranda, who's like this scientist who's very like competent, but is also very comfortable in who she is, which is like a quirky, cute, adorable scientist. She doesn't try to, I don't know, I feel like as a female in science, sometimes there's this pressure to have to be extra serious to be taken seriously, and I just appreciate the normalization that scientists are just people who have personalities, and that's a wide array of personalities. And other characters were good too. It's just Miranda and April May stuck out to me. I also liked Maya, who is April's girlfriend at the start of the book. Oh my, do you guys want a cat? He's for sale. He totally is. He doesn't even let me sleep anymore. Anyways, so those were all the things I have read and consumed this week. And yeah, it's been a good reading week, and I hope I can keep it going, although I'm getting exhausted. You ever get that way? It's like you're not tired enough to nap, but you're just tired. Well, that's it for this one. Let me know if you've read or are interested in any of these things, what you read this week that you really loved, and I'm going to go so I can deal with this thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.